It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
There's some things I just want expert advice on, and taxes is one of them. Sure, doing your own taxes can be convenient, but let's be honest, don't you wonder if you're doing everything correctly? With TaxAct, you're guided every step of the way with their software, and you get free live help with Tax Expert Assist. That's unlimited questions you can ask a CPA or other tax expert. They make it that easy to file for less and get more. Start for free at taxact.com today. See website for details. Restrictions apply.
The Los Angeles Kings turned in two big comeback wins, and one of them was even against a real NHL team. We're going to talk about all of that on today's episode of Locked On Los Angeles Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As always, my name is Sarah Avampato, host of this show, covering all the ups and downs of the Kings since 2016 or something. And here, your host of Locked On Kings, talking about your favorite and my favorite hockey team in the NHL, talking about the Kings. Thank you for listening to today's show. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day and all of that awesome stuff. Always glad to have you here with me. And today I have bullied a special guest into coming and talking about the Kings. You've heard him talk with me about goalies. You've heard him talk with me about the rain. But today we're going to be doing what's probably going to be a little bit of a regular segment, which is called Mondays with Jay. It might have a cooler name than that in the future. But we've got Jay from Locked On Blue Jackets moonlighting as a Locked On Kings special guest contributor. And we're going to talk about the Kings' great action this weekend. So do you have a cooler name for our weekly-ish, maybe possible segment shows?
I have been pushing Mini Kings Monday for basically since we decided to do this, because it's fun and it's alliterative, and also we're probably going to talk about the rain a lot, and they are in fact the Mini Kings. So, and also this means that we can talk a lot about TJ Tynan. Yeah,
like they're the Mini Kings, both literally and also literally.
Yes,
because many of them are small boys. So Mini
short
Kings Monday,
are also short kings.
I mean, A+. I think that's a good direction to take this in. But we're going to talk about the big boys today, which is the Los Angeles Kings, who turned in two big wins over the Friday, Saturday. One against the Vegas Golden Knights, where they came back and won it in overtime, 4-3, and then against the Arizona Coyotes, who allegedly still exist as a hockey team. For now, they won that one 5-3 in what you described before we started recording as a comedy of errors, which I think really sums that one up. The Vegas one, though, probably the more interesting of the bunch, and I feel like showed us that the Kings can actually hang with like a legitimate team, I guess.
Yeah, I think for reasons that I don't really know and that no one really knows, I was in fact awake for both of these games, despite living 8 hours ahead of LA. So I did watch the Knights Kings game, and I remember I texted you and was like, should I watch this game or are they going to make me sad? And then they made it 2-0 in the first 15 minutes of the first period, and I was like, well, I kind of answered my own question there, I guess. But it was a pretty fun game, all things considered. Adrian Kempe doing Adrian Kempe things. Andreas Athanasiou, who I forgot existed until this game, somehow scored. I forget, just Zoom.
Yeah.
He goes Zoom. Just everyone that you wanted to score was scoring this weekend, I think, is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, it was. I feel like the neatest thing about what we're seeing from the Kings lately is that, I mean, in past seasons, it was basically if Anze Kopitar wasn't scoring, then nobody did. Like, that's just sort of how it's been. And so we've always been like, well, depth scoring sure would be a cool thing to have. And now, you know, we got that goal from Athanasiou. Like you said, he just went zoom, 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 and suddenly there was a goal. It was really cool. And he, you know, he's a guy who I know he's been hurt a lot. He's been in and out of the lineup because of it. I think he had COVID at one point. And so it's like, oh yeah, A, you forget he exists. B, he hasn't always been super consistent in the lineup, but I mean, surprise, you put him next to Quentin Byfield and suddenly stuff is happening, which I think is awesome. You have Phil Deneau, who I think has a new career high in goals. He scored the goal in the second period that tied the game up. And then, Adrian Kempe doing Adrian Kempe things. He had 2 goals in the game against Vegas, 2 goals in the game against Arizona. This is like, Adrian Kempe was drafted in 2014. This is the Adrian Kempe we've been waiting for, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's been, like we've talked about this before, I feel like it's been, probably at least 3 seasons of Kings fans being like, man, this Kempe guy, when's he going to actually do something? And he's doing something. He's doing all the things. He's second on the team in points right now. Somehow, by the way, Andrzej Kopitar has 47 points this season.
That's a very quiet 47 points.
Right? I was like, I feel like, because I was watching the game and I was like, man, who's been pretty quiet this season, apart from like that opening weekend where he scored a hat-trick in the game opener or in the season opener or something, and then he kind of quieted down a little bit, and I was like, man, Kopitar's been quiet. And then I looked and was like, oh, maybe just quietly scoring 47 points. I don't know how many of those are, only 14 of those are goals. So he's doing the thing where he's doing the Jake Varacek thing of just a bunch of assists and just doing Andrzej Kopitar things. But yeah, Kempe he was the MVP of this weekend, I think, and also maybe of the season for the Kings so far. I know there's been a lot of talk about the career resurgence of Jonathan Quick, who apparently has decided it's 2012 again. And obviously Kopitar is always a huge part of this team's success. But, first time All-Star, Adrian Kempe, 23 goals on the season so far. And, he's still, as far as top 6 guys go, he's still pretty young, right? Like, drafted 2014, so he's what, 28?
25.
Oh, my math was way off. Yeah, he's 25.
Right. This is a hockey podcast, not a math podcast.
Right? I play hockey at school.
No, that's dumb.
He's 25 years old, which I feel like, he's hitting his prime now. I get being impatient, especially if it's someone that comes really highly touted, and, not to talk too much about the Blue Jackets on this LA Kings podcast, but people have been kind of going hard on Patrick Laine. Basically all of last season, where he was mostly injured, and also there was a pandemic, and also it was a brand new team, and also the team was generally terrible. And then like this season, he kind of had a slowish start and then got injured, and people are like, man, this guy's done. Like, trade him at the deadline, get rid of him, like get what we can for him.
Calm down.
He's 23 years old,
right? Which
I feel like I thought he was older.
Oh, wow, yeah,
he has 18 points in his last 9 games. Like, I'm not gonna like sell the farm to give him a contract for a 9-game streak, but also maybe find some chill. And I feel like the Adrian Kempe critics should also have found some chill probably at least 2 years ago. Yeah,
I mean, he has obliterated his career highs in terms of goals. So 23 this year. The previous high for him was 16 in his first full NHL season back in 2017-18. He has 33 points, which is just a little bit behind his previous career high, which was also that rookie season. He had 37. So he's very close to matching that. And I feel like it comes as no surprise, I guess, that, whenever they finished, like they gave up on the Adrian Kempe as a center experiment, shocking. He actually is a good player. Like, you put him next to Andrzej Kopitar. You put him next to Phil Deneau. What's that? He can actually do stuff. Like, of course he's having success now because you stopped trying to like make him be a player that he isn't. Like, obviously.
Right. It's the opposite of something that I saw someone else on Twitter talking about yesterday of, what do you mean this skilled player isn't producing when you cut his ice time and put him on the 4th line with checkers?
Right.
It's the inverse of that, of, oh my God, this skilled player is producing when he's playing on the wing where it's easier to be offensive, and he's playing with skilled centers that love to pass the puck. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Florals for spring, groundbreaking, you know?
And I feel like it also is like solves the conundrum of every year people were like, why can't we find someone to go on Kopitar's wing who can score? Well, I don't know. Look what happened.
Because you were playing him as a second line center for like 3 seasons.
Right. Like, guess what? You gave Kopitar like a fast, shiny Swedish boy, and surprise, now Kopitar is getting to be like the playmaker that we know he is, and Kempe is getting to score pucks without having to worry about being like super responsible. And yet he also like gets penalty kill time, so it's not like he is like defensively terrible. He just isn't a center, and I'm glad that like Todd McLellan finally realized that.
Yes, gold star for Todd McLellan for realizing that his speedy Swedish winger is in fact a winger.
Well, we'll take another look at what else is going on with the Kings coming up after this. But first, let's talk about snacks, because I just like ate a whole bunch of snacks on my way home from where I was out doing some stuff. And none of those snacks were particularly like healthy for me. And they were probably very high in sugar and like all sorts of other things that, you know, 9 out of 10 doctors tell you probably should like have less of. And really what I should have done was had a Built Bar, because Built Bars are great protein bars. They taste like candy bars. They're covered in 100% chocolate. They are tasty and delicious and also good for you. There's also cool varieties like the Built Puff, which is indeed a fluffy marshmallowy bar thing that is not just a protein bar. It is a treat. And of course, there are lots of great fun flavors. I know that like the Built Bar to J pipeline is like a challenge because there's a big ocean in the way. But do you have a favorite flavor or a favorite flavor that like seems like a good idea, you just haven't had to eat it because it's, you know, a bajillion miles away?
Yeah, I will say I really liked. So I got a big old box of Built Bars from Sarah that went via Australia. Why? Who knows? That's the wrong way around the earth. But anyway, they arrived. They were all delicious. They were all super good. My personal favorite, I think, it has to be the there was like a banana marshmallowy one that was super, super delicious. And I think I got like 3 or 4 of those because Sarah hates bananas, and they were delicious.
Well, you can go and pick your own favorite Built Bar flavor by going to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. You can taste as many flavors as you want and get back to us and tell us your favorite flavor. Again, that is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
David Harrison here of the Locked On Podcast Network with a question for all Locked On listeners. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called Directv Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Directv Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Before we get back into talking NHL hockey, we of course are wrapping things up with the Olympics. And if you haven't already, make sure you're checking out Olympic Hockey Daily, which is presented by Locked On NHL. It's a bonus podcast that's been covering all of the action in Beijing. With the men's tournament just wrapping up, Go Finland. You can catch the probably final episode on Locked On NHL's podcast feed and YouTube, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, thanks once again for making this show, Locked On Los Angeles Kings, your first listen of the day every day. Go listen to Locked On NHL and the Olympic show after that. So, Kings beat Vegas, which I feel was very satisfying, because when they went down 2-0 at the beginning, I was like, well, here we go again. But they managed to surprise me. And so then you're looking at the calendar, you're like, okay, back to back, fine. Next night against the Coyotes. Like, this should be fine. This should be totally fine. It wasn't fine at first.
Well, so I was like, okay, Vegas, they beat Vegas somehow. Great. They are absolutely going to poop the bed against Arizona because that's how hockey works.
Right,
you know?
right.
And it got to like, I was watching the shot counter and it was like 4-1 Kings, 5-1 Kings, 6-1 Kings. And I was like, Arizona's scoring the first goal here. I just know they're scoring the first goal and I know it's going to be dumb as hell. And
surprise.
I sure was right.
It was so bad. Like I was, when that game was happening, the first couple of periods, I was covering an AHL game. So I was just sort of like streaming it in the corner of my computer while I was watching a live game in front of me, and happened to look at the screen right as the Coyotes scored, which Anton Strawman scored the first goal. This is how I learned that Anton Strawman is still
I thought he was dead.
Yeah, no, he is scoring on the Kings. This goal was so bad that I screenshot it and put it on Twitter because Cal Peterson was a solid, like, I don't know, 4 feet away from his net, like down, like in the splits, just like sitting next to his net. And like in the screenshot, you can see the puck going from Barrett Hayton, who got the first assist, over to Strawman, who was in front of the net. And it's just the, like, you know, like the record scratch, like, you're wondering how I got here for Cal Peterson. It was the dumbest possible goal. And
so, like, of course, that was how the scoring opened up. It was a very Jonathan Quick play, I thought. But you know how you watch something unfold and you know that a goal is being scored?
Yes.
Like, just sometimes you just watch the puck cross the line and you're like, that's going in the net like 20 to 30 seconds later. Like, that was the feeling I got from this goal. And I was like, man, that feels right spiritually.
Yeah,
for
like
a team that just beat Vegas and is now kicking the crap out of a very bad Arizona team. Of course, it's 1-0 Arizona. Like, what was it? 8 minutes in. Yeah.
As soon as Cal Peterson started doing the little like goalie crab thing out of his net, I was like, oh, well, yeah, that just happened. But the good news is about 10 seconds later, I can't math, but about 10 seconds later, next shift, Adrian Kempe once again scored for the Kings to at least tie it up in the first period. So that was great. And then the second period happened. And, well, the Kings kinged again. I watched this game and I was like, I hate them. Why are they doing this to me? Because they were down 3-1 for most of the second period, because of course they were.
I believe it was after the 2-1 goal, Sarah texted me and said, if the Kings lose this game, I'm going to walk into the woods and never return.
Right. Which really was kind of a bold call on my part, because I was very close to having to walk into the woods and never return.
Yeah, I would have missed you. That would have been sad. I feel like the 2-1 goal, I will give them the 2-1 goal, because I feel like that was the goal where Alex Galchenyuk, who again, who knew he was in Arizona again? Not me. He had that really good pass to, and Lawson basically did nothing. He just kind of scored the goal. You know, that goal was all assist. So I will allow them to have that goal, because the first one was dumb as hell. That one was actually a good goal, and I feel like the 3-1 goal, the Clayton Keller goal, was also kind of dumb. Yeah.
Well, you know, this is also unrelated, but Phil Kessel is also kind of following the Jake Voracek line of thought this season, because he has 33 points and 6 of those are goals.
That seems really un-Phil Kessel-like.
Yeah. Yes, he's like, I don't know, I'm going to take it easy in the desert and give other people the puck or something.
I guess. Maybe he doesn't want to be traded again.
Right. He's
like if I'm quiet and don't score goals, they'll keep me at the deadline.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to have to move again.
I mean, moving is terrible, so I can't say I blame him.
It is the worst. And like the Coyotes suck, but also you get to live in Arizona. And I know there's like Boston has an interest in Kessel. Like, I don't want to move to Boston in January or February.
No,
what month is it? I don't want to move to January. To Boston,
it's the cold month.
Like, it's cold there.
Yeah. And I mean, well, Phil Kessel to Boston would be really, really funny. Like, so I would like it to happen just for that. But other than that, no, like I could see Phil Kessel being like, but I'm staying here. No.
Yeah, I have to try barely at all to do well on this team. And also it's sunny all the time. And also no one writes weird hit pieces about how many hot dogs I eat.
Right. I mean, for as many people like had the rumors of like, if Jeff Carter gets traded, he's instantly retiring. Like, and we all knew that was like kind of BS, even though we thought it was funny. Like, I could see Phil Kessel being like, nah,
right. Especially if they trade him back to Toronto. I could imagine him being like, you know what?
He'd be like, no. And I quit.
Yep. Me and my dog are going to stay here in the Southwest.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 dumb goals, 1 like legitimate goal. And then the Kings basically said, we're tired of this and started scoring. First off, they had 2 goals in the power play, which
I didn't know they were allowed to do that. Is that allowed?
I didn't think they could. I thought that was a lie. But apparently they could. Doughty scored on the power play at the end of the second period. Kempe scored on the power play in the middle of the third period. Trevor Moore got on the board, which was great. He actually had would you like to take a guess how many shots Trevor Moore had in this game?
Oh man, is it more than 5?
Yes.
I'm gonna guess 8. I think he had 8 shots on goal.
Close. He had 7 shots for Trevor Moore.
And I've been calling him a mediocre Trevor all this time. I feel kind of bad about that. I was like, oh, it's the new mediocre Trevor. You know, we've joked about how there always has to be a below average Trevor in Los Angeles. For people who are very, very new to my Kings fandom, I basically got into the Kings via those Kings read mean tweets videos, and Trevor Lewis was just very good in those, and there was a lot of mean tweets about him being like, oh man, I wish Trevor Lewis could score goals, and he was like, yeah, me too. And I was like, oh, I love him. So that was how I got into the Kings.
Yeah, you imprinted.
Which was extremely, extremely funny and extremely on brand for me. But the point is, I thought Trevor Moore was mediocre, and apparently Trevor Moore good at hockey, ?
He's sometimes mediocre, and then sometimes really good, and then sometimes ? But yeah, this game really good. 7 shots on goal. There was a lot. Like Kempe had 4, or Kempe had 5. Iafallo had 4. Arvidsson 5. Down in the defense, Doughty had 5. So like there were a lot of guys just really getting busy with this one. Drew Doughty's 2 goals. This was a stat that like blew my mind when I saw it. This is his second career 2-goal game.
That seems incorrect.
Right. Like he has been playing hockey for the Kings. His rookie season was 2008. This is the first time in his career that he has scored 2, or the second time in his career he scored 2 goals. I was like, really?
Man, I thought you were going to tell me it's like, because didn't he just hit 1,000 games recently?
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to be like, did you know it's his like 71st 2-goal game? And I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. But
yeah, no,
that's a bonkers stat.
Yeah.
Extremely weird.
Extremely weird. And then Kempe is the first Kings player to record 2 or more goals on consecutive days since a guy named John Tonelli in 1989. Like, there are people on this team younger than that.
I think almost everyone on the team is younger than that.
Yeah, when was Adrian Kempe born?
I just looked this up. I want to say
1996.
96.
Yeah.
I feel like Kopitar is older.
Quick.
Very
the old guys. Brown. That's it. I think.
It. Everyone else is a child. Maybe Alexander Edler. I think he's dead as well.
But that's also crazy. And then the other crazy stat from this one was this is the first time the franchise has rallied from a multi-goal deficit to win on consecutive days. The first time.
Like the Kings.
Yeah, that sounds very, very Kings. I hate them. Why? But they did it. They won the game. They won 2 games in a row. That's very exciting. And we're going to wrap up with some more thoughts about the week. coming up after this. But first, let's talk betting, because if you're into sports betting, well, we've got a place for you. Football is, of course, over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. So whether you're looking for the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, you can go to betonline.net. It's the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And of course, it isn't just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right on down to the now wrapped up Olympics coverage and information. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action, all at BetOnline. It's where the game starts.
The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, is going on the road. Locked On's local experts deliver the most in-depth coverage of the biggest events in sports.
The Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. Are you excited about this World Series?
Of course, that was going to be the way the Bucs were going to win a championship.
And now Locked On is on the road at the Senior Bowl, the Super Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, the NBA All-Star Game, and more.
The more you say it, the more insane it sounds, I think.
Get news, analysis, and rumors from inside the arena, on the field, or at the stadium delivered to you daily in under 30 minutes.
This is what champions do. This is what champions are made of.
Find your favorite team's Locked On podcast and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So looking at the Pacific Division, looking at the Western Conference, first off, I regret to announce that we should have been rooting for the Sharks tonight, and guess what? The Sharks are disappointing me. They're playing Vegas.
The Sharks do nothing but disappoint me sometimes.
Yeah. They just let me down big time. They're losing 3-0.
It shouldn't be surprising. The Sharks are the only team worse than them in the Pacific is Seattle. So
that's, I just wanted one thing from them. And they failed, which is what I should have expected. But right now, at least waiting for the games to shake out today, but I don't think anything's going to change with the last couple games. Kings holding down that first wild card spot in the Western Conference. They're tied in points with Edmonton, but Edmonton has one fewer game played. I personally think it would be great if they started losing games again. They have now won 5 in a row. With the new coach bump that I feel like every team has experienced so far this season.
Did you see, speaking of the Oilers, did you see that tweet earlier today? I think it was Mark Spector who commented on one of the Oilers got fined for elbowing someone or cross-checking someone. I don't remember. And he was like, man, that's what this team needs. Someone that is willing to get fined. And I'm like, that's what this team needs? Not a goaltender or a top-pairing defenseman under the age of 85, but someone who's willing to elbow someone in the face for the good of the game.
Somehow that doesn't work for me. Like I was before we recorded today, I was at an AHL game reporting on it, and it was one of those games where the teams just hate each other and they spend most of the game literally took 3 hours. Hockey games should not take 3 hours. It didn't even go to overtime.
If you were going to get home in time for, because we're recording this just after the Blue Jackets game finished, and you were like, there is still an entire period of hockey to be played, and we've been here 2.5 hours.
Terrible. So both teams hate each other. Fine, I expected that. At one point, the captain of the other team, which if you have followed AHL stuff for any length of time, it's Cody McLeod, who is a total well, there's a reason he's basically AHL lifer. He decides to get mad and fire up his team, who was losing 5-0. But he did it by sucker punching 2 guys, and then obviously took a double minor for roughing. So I'm like, okay, firing up your team, getting a little physical. Okay, cool. I get it. Good idea. Putting your team down a man for 4 minutes because you were mad and had a tantrum. You could have done something different than that, maybe, sir.
No, impossible. The only way to fire up your team is to make them practice the penalty kill. It's science. I am a scientist. I am very smart. Do not look at any of my credentials.
Yeah. And so apparently that's what Edmonton needs, is that. So good job, I guess, Oilers. Also, like, Calgary, legitimate question mark? Like, they've won 9 in a row.
I know, I'm not happy about it.
I'm not happy about it. They're first in the Pacific. Obviously, they just got good friend Tyler Toffoli and also his wife and his cute dog, like package deal there. Reunited with your favorite mediocre Trevor Lewis, and Daryl Sutter. I hate it. Like, how was this allowed to happen?
Yeah, I feel like this should be not allowed. I feel like people I like should not have to go and live in Alberta. And honestly, hockey is more fun when the Canadian teams are bad.
Right, like, it's just, they're so easy to make fun of.
I'm not sure if Calgary is legit or not. I haven't paid a ton of attention to them, except when they're like curb stomping the Blue Jackets, which they've done twice this season. I don't know if they are quote unquote legit. I feel like they might be primed for a first round playoff exit, and I don't really have anything to back that up. Like, that's just the feeling I get, is I feel like they are setting themselves up to get curb stomped by like Edmonton. That will be funny. Or, maybe Nashville, depending on how the standings shake out. But that's what I get from Calgary. And I think that will be extremely funny if Calgary got knocked out of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my take on them, is I think they're a good regular season team. I don't know that they can, it's a lot on the back of Jacob Markstrom, who's been playing like a maniac at this point. I have no idea how, they have a goal differential of 53. Like, how Jacob Markstrom has 100 shutouts or something. I mean, not really, but I think he leads the league in shutouts. He
does by 4. He has 8 shutouts this season.
No.
His closest player is Marc-Andre Fleury, and also 2 other guys that have 4.
No, also that Marc-Andre Fleury is next closest, and I think that his team has won 6 games.
Yeah, I think those 4 shutouts are just the 4 wins that Chicago has. Yeah, Jacob Markstrom has played a lot this season. He's at 38 games played of.
Wow.
They've
played 48.
48.
So, yeah.
So he's played, I've already forgotten what number I said.
38? Yeah. He's going to fall apart by the time the playoffs happen.
And they have a serviceable backup as well. Vladar is good.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a Daryl Sutter team. Of course, poor Jacob Markstrom is playing every game that he can stand up for. Daryl
I know,
Sutter
you said that, and then I remembered all those years of Jonathan Quick playing 75 games a season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do think as soon as they traded for Tyler Toffoli, my first reaction was, this is setting up for a Calgary Kings playoff matchup. Which I would hate.
You might be right about that.
I'd hate it a lot.
That's bad. This is the bad place.
Yes. But I'm like, oh, is this what the universe is trying to give me? Is, Daryl Sutter and Tyler Toffoli versus their old team. No, I'd rather give me the Battle of Alberta. That'd be funny, not emotionally painful to me.
I feel like, the Battle of Alberta feels like, to me, a matchup that would just be explosive in all of the bad ways. Because Edmonton doesn't have a goalie, but they also have Connor McDavid.
Right.
So it's just going to be a bunch of, I assume, 6-5 games that flip-flop, and it's just going to be hilarious bad.
Right. Last person standing is whoever
yes, and if we're lucky, we'll get to see Connor McDavid cry on national TV again.
Oh my gosh, give it to me.
I might cut that out. That feels too mean, but I may keep that. We'll see.
He doesn't deserve it, but also it's funny.
I don't know. I stopped caring about Connor McDavid when he went to bat for Evander Kane. So,
well, yeah.
It feels very much like reaping and sowing.
Well, I mean, not to throw it back to a Kings game from last week or whatever, but it was the Kings game against the Oilers, which I fell asleep after the second period, which I think was the best choice because that game ended up being terrible. But the second period ended with Evander Kane taking a total cheap shot against Brendan Lemieux, who admittedly probably deserved it. but like Evander Kane put his team shorthanded. And if the trade-off is Brendan Lemieux and Evander Kane both in penalty boxes, like he's gonna come out on top on that one.
Yeah, it's the Tom Wilson effect.
Right.
I feel like we talked about this very recently when the last time I yelled about Brendan Lemieux on this podcast. That's a trade that you like the other team wants to make every time. Like as terrible a human as Evander Kane is, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can't seem to control his tantrums to stop the other team from getting penalties or getting power plays because he's in the box, like I will take that trade-off. If he wants to sit in the box at the same time as Brendan Lemieux, like, okay, fine. Like, I feel like the team is actively better when Brendan Lemieux is sitting in the box than when he is on the ice. So,
yeah. So good job, Oilers, on making things even less likable than they already are. Like, congrats. I had one last thought before we wrap things up, and I tweeted this because I thought it was both funny and true, which was, of course, there's all sorts of talk about, who are the Kings going to trade for? What are they going to do at the trade deadline? And everyone looks at Arizona because Arizona rightfully should just be doing like a fire sale of anyone like not nailed down. And I was like, I'm kind of the opinion that like, I don't think the Kings need to, make a huge move. If they don't do anything, I feel like I'll be okay with it. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind them getting, like, I know Jake Chychrun and Lawson Crouse are the two names that always come up, particularly because they both fit sort of needs that the Kings have. I would be okay with the Kings getting either or both of them, just so they would stop scoring on the Kings. Because every game against the Coyotes, one or both of those guys scores goals against the Kings. And like, I'd be super glad to not have them scoring goals against us anymore and instead scoring for us.
Well, unfortunately, Jake Chychrun is coming to Columbus because we're collecting all of the Jakes in the league. We're coming after Chychrun, and then we're going after Gensel because he's my nemesis. And I would also like him to stop scoring on the Blue Jackets. But yeah, Lawson Crouse. And I feel like Lawson Crouse would be a decent fit on the Kings. I also feel like Clayton Keller would fit in well on the Kings.
He also scores against them all the time.
I feel like the thing about the Coyotes that baffles me is I feel like every season they sell everything that's not nailed down. And then the next season rolls around and suddenly they're selling where are they getting, like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's like, this is going to be an extremely English reference that not many of your listeners will understand. But like, we have a TV show over here called Midsomer Murders. And it's about this tiny little village in the English countryside. And every week someone gets murdered. And it's like, where are all these people coming from? If someone gets murdered every week, how are there still people left in this tiny little village? Right. And it's the same as like every time someone gets traded from Arizona, I'm like, where does the next person come from? Are they just like making replacement level players in a like tank of goo in the desert somewhere? Like, what's going on?
We might have to edit that out of the podcast. I think you just let out their secret.
I'm gonna knock on the door at 4 a.m. and it's
like the witness protection program for like hockey, the forbidden hockey knowledge.
Yes.
Well, I think this has been delightful. I'm very glad that the first Mini King Monday was talking about the Kings being successful, because that's a nice change of pace from some of the other times I've had to talk about them and been like, oh, well, crap. The Kings schedule coming up this week looks delightfully hilarious because they're playing the Coyotes again on Wednesday. So I'm excited to see if like we get curb stomped by them this time, because that's usually what happens. And then we have to face Trevor Zegras and a bunch of other dudes on Friday. I'm hoping we can just kidnap Trevor Zegras and keep him and like replace him with like Brendan Lemieux or something, and no one will notice.
Well, I think the rule is if you hit him onto your bench during a game, then you get to keep the player. So
right. So
maybe the Kings should try that.
Right. Dustin Brown looking at you.
Yep.
Like,
take one for the team, Dustin.
Right. It's fine. And then the Islanders on Saturday, which should also that's a really stupid road trip. Like they're playing. Oh no, never mind. I can't read. They're playing at Anaheim on Friday, and then the Islanders come to LA on Saturday. I definitely read it wrong. And
I
was like,
did
why are
also
they
think
going?
that they were flying to New
Right.
York for a back-to-back and was like, this,
That'd be
who made
horrible.
this?
Yeah, no, I just can't read. That sign doesn't mean anything because I can't stop me because I can't read. Yeah, so we've got lots of weird stuff happening this week, and I'm glad that you were here to talk about this. I will leave you with one final question. What does Gabe Velarde have to do to get called back up?
Sacrifice a goat at center ice.
All right, Gabe, you hear that? Get on it. Thank you for joining me to talk about the Kings and some of the smaller Kings on today's show. For people who want to like say hi to you online or follow your Reign coverage, because you do cover them. I've still got some more from our conversation last week that you're going to hear later this week on the show. And so where can people find all that stuff from you online?
Yeah, so you can find my Reign coverage over FPH Reign. The Reign, I believe, unless they messed it up, went 2-0 this weekend. So I will have a recap about all that fun. Everyone's favorite Gabe Velarde scored, I believe. So we'll be talking about him over there on FPH Reign. You can find all the written work at fieldpasshockey.com. And if you would like some more kind of generalized hockey chaos of the Blue Jackets, the Cleveland Monsters, the Kings, the Reign, and just whatever else I happen to be watching when I can't sleep at 1 a.m., you can follow me over at _Jacob Forster, JAKOBFORSTER.
All right. And of course, I'm on Twitter at Right Said Sarah. The show's on Twitter at Locked on LA Kings. So give me a follow, say hello as we endure whatever it is that the Kings and the Reign have for us this week. Make sure you're following the show, subscribe to it wherever you get your podcasts, and also kind of sort of on YouTube so you can find us there. Never miss a single episode as we talk to you all about the Kings and the Reign for this very strangely exciting season. So make sure you come back tomorrow and every day of the week for more Kings news here on Locked on Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.